The notion that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity is a provocative and complex claim. On the surface, it may seem like a far-fetched idea, but upon closer examination, there are some intriguing arguments that warrant consideration. To understand this perspective, it's essential to delve into the underlying themes and motivations that drive the mainstream media's narrative on global warming and its potential connections to Christianity. One of the primary arguments made by proponents of this claim is that the mainstream media's relentless focus on global warming is, in fact, a veiled attempt to undermine traditional Christian values and replace them with a secular, environmentally driven worldview. They argue that the media's persistent warnings about the catastrophic consequences of climate change are designed to create a sense of alarm and anxiety, which can be exploited to promote a radical, left-leaning agenda that is inherently at odds with Christian teachings. For instance, the emphasis on reducing carbon emissions and transitioning to renewable energy sources is often framed as a moral imperative, with those who resist or question these efforts being labeled as deniers or anti-science. This kind of language, critics argue, is designed to shame and silence Christians who may hold different views on the matter, and to create a cultural narrative that equates environmentalism with virtue and Christianity with backwardness. By perpetuating this narrative, the mainstream media is, in effect, waging a war of ideas against Christianity, seeking to supplant its traditional values and principles with a new, secular orthodoxy. Another argument made by proponents of this claim is that the mainstream media's coverage of global warming is often infused with a sense of apocalyptic urgency, which can be seen as a direct challenge to the Christian concept of eschatology. By framing climate change as an existential threat to human civilization, the media is, in effect, gating a rival eschatology that competes with the Christian narrative of redemption and salvation. This, critics argue, is a deliberate attempt to undermine the authority of Christian teachings and supplant them with a secular, science-driven worldview. Furthermore, the mainstream media's frequent portrayal of climate change as a universal, collective problem that requires a unified global response can be seen as an attempt to create a new, secular form of universalism that transcends traditional religious and cultural boundaries. This, critics argue, is a direct challenge to the Christian concept of the kingdom of God, which is rooted in a specific set of spiritual and moral principles. By promoting a global, secular response to climate change, the mainstream media is, in effect, creating a rival kingdom that competes with the Christian vision of a redeemed and sanctified world. It's also worth noting that some Christian leaders and organizations have been vocal in their criticism of the mainstream media's coverage of global warming, arguing that it is often biased, misleading, and driven by a secular agenda that is hostile to Christian values. They point to the frequent exclusion of Christian perspectives and voices from the public debate on climate change, and the tendency to marginalize or ridicule those who question the dominant narrative on the issue. This, they argue, is a clear example of the mainstream media's war against Christianity and its determination to suppress any dissenting voices that challenge its secular, environmentally driven worldview. In conclusion, while the idea that global warming is a war by the mainstream media against Christianity may seem far-fetched at first glance, there are some compelling arguments that warrant consideration. The mainstream media's relentless focus on global warming, its use of apocalyptic language and imagery, and its promotion of a secular, universally driven response to climate change can all be seen as challenges to traditional Christian values and principles. As the debate over climate change continues to unfold, it's essential to recognize the complex, nuanced nature of this issue and the ways in which it intersects with deeper cultural and spiritual themes. By engaging with these themes in a thoughtful and reflective manner, Christians and non-Christians alike can work towards a more nuanced understanding of the issues at stake and a more constructive dialogue about the kind of world we want to create.